The Brotherhood of Angels and of Men. Chapter 11. Unity. As there is a land of joy, so also there is a world where diversity is not, where there is unity alone. It is higher than the land of joy, for joy is the land of the universal ideas, and unity is behind ideas. You cannot speak with any truth about this land, for words are diversities. Therefore, may that land be named by one word alone. It is a land of unity. Not only is there no need for other words, there are no other words, for the one word unity expresses the whole. To analyze it is to lose it. To synthesize is to lose it. Unity cannot be analyzed or synthesized. It is one. What use then in the lower worlds? This, that you should obtain the flavor of it. The flavor of unity can be tasted by the mind, can even be expressed in action as mutual endeavor. Wherever there is mutual endeavor in the lower worlds, there men have caught the flavor of unity. In the higher worlds above the mind, naught else exists, for they are closer to the world of unity. Unity is their very life. Of it, perhaps, one sentence may be truly said, it is the embodiment of the will of God. Of that restless will, no man living in the lower worlds may know. That it brought all things forth, that it holds all things in existence. That is the driving power behind all life. These may be known, but they are its attributes and not the will itself. By will, a man must rise through thought, through the land of ideas, even through unity, to the very self. Then he may know the will of God. This is a road which every man may take immediately, a road which one day every man will take irrevocably. If he would shorten his sojourn in the worlds of form, if his soul is satiated of form and separateness, then let him return. Let him set forth upon the road by which he came, the ancient road, the well-worn road, the road which so many of his race and ours have trodden. This road is at his feet. Let him set them thereon. It passes through his heart. He must pay toll with his heart's blood. It leads through his mind. He must be ready to lay aside his mind. Then he will find the bridge so difficult to cross. The way is very narrow here, but every step he takes widens it. Upon the approaches to the bridge, the human race is standing today. The next stage in the evolution of the human mind will lead to the crossing of the bridge. It leads from the concrete to the abstract, from thought to idea, from separateness to union, from form to formlessness, from the impermanent to the permanent, from the immortal to the immortal, from the mortal to the immortal, from the illusory to the actual, from the temporal to the eternal, from that which dies to that which is undying, from the natural man to the spiritual man, from the not self to the self. It is the bridge which all saints have crossed. It is the dividing line between spirit and mind. It is not a place, it is a state. It is not external, it is within. After the bridge has been crossed, places disappear. The only states of consciousness remain. He who would cross must leave himself behind, first, because no separated self can enter the state of union with the one. Second, because the self must remain in lower worlds as messenger and ambassador between the two lands on either side of the bridge. Having paid toll with the blood of the heart, having made ready to lay his mind aside, let the brave pilgrim step boldly on the bridge. Immediately he will find himself on the further side. The bridge will not bear him standing. Only as he moves across it may he make use of its support. Having crossed, he finds himself in the land of joy, where pain is forever left behind, where parting is unknown, where knowledge dwells. He has reached the first resting place. Here he will find peace. Here he will renew his courage and his strength. For the succeeding stages of his pilgrimage, here he will survey the road along which he has passed. Here past and present will become one. Here he may estimate the future and collect the many streams of energy that he has liberated in the past and bind them into one. He will now begin to direct this single stream of power. He will float no longer upon its waves and the mercy of the current. Henceforth, he will take control of himself. Knowing the past, he will possess the future. He will gather together the products of his many lives and will assess their value. Here, he will balance causation and effect. Here, he begins to be the ruler of them both, knowing them as one. Here, he sums up into a whole the zodiacal experiences of his many lives. Thus, having crossed the bridge, will he live. Thus will he labor, knowing his lower self, the man that he has left behind in the worlds of form below the bridge, as his instrument. As instrument, henceforth, he must employ the lower man. Upon mind, feeling, and body he must play at will, render them silent at will, deprive them of all self-initiated volition, teach them to answer to his gentlest thought, develop to the full automatism, so that they labor in the worlds of form as perfectly as he himself employed them. That portion of himself which he sent down, clothing it in form that it might command form, he now withdraws, leaving the form bereft of self, not but an instrument. Later he will withdraw still further. Thus it is of very great importance that from the outset the form should be controlled, perfected, trained, ready to be laid aside at will, according to this need of freedom in the higher worlds, ready to be resumed and to serve with absolute efficiency. This is his duty in the world of form. He will do his work with ease, because henceforth he works from above. No longer is a stream of thought or a rising feeling or a craving of the flesh associated with himself. He knows them as not the not-self, repudiates their claims, and rules thought, feeling, and flesh with his liberated will. They are but the brush with which he paints, in lower worlds, the vision which is his in worlds beyond the bridge. As pencil he sharpens them, that he may draw truly the pattern he will weave upon the web of time and space, those illusory rulers of the worlds below. These are the lessons he must learn, ere once more he can take the road by which he shall attain liberation from the domain of time, space, and form. He takes his bodies one by one and perfects them, as a mechanic sharpens and adjusts his tools, that they may give him perfect service, never failing him in any task to which he sets his hand. The body must be made pure, light, responsive, accurate, and controlled. It must be at ease. Through every nerve, sinew, and muscle, through every organ, through flesh and skin and bone, there must be ease, perfect poise, utter restfulness. He must preserve his vital force as his most precious jewel in the lower world. Without it, the finest body will be useless. With it, all things may be done. It is the life force of the form through which he himself is immanent. He will only use that portion of his body which the immediate task demands. The remainder will be at rest, acting as a reservoir of vital force. Thus will he gain health. thus develop the special kind of strength which he will need in order to manifest through the form which he maintains in worlds below, the vision and the power which he has won beyond the bridge. Thus will the pencil point be sharp. Thus will he ensure against error through failure of the instrument. This work will not be new, for having glimpsed the vision of the land beyond the bridge for many lives before he crossed it, he has been preparing himself with such knowledge and power as he could command, while imprisoned in the lower worlds. His real immortal self, with whom he is now united and identified, influenced him continually by brooding and suggestion, by atmosphere, by vision, and by dream, so that he might prepare. His feelings and thoughts he cultivates and refines, making them responsive only to the higher, eliminating all that which could respond to the lower. Having thus erected and perfected the downward pointing pyramid, he proceeds to the decoration and perfection of the higher, so that he may be ready for the next stage of the journey. Thus, and thus alone, may lower man in lower worlds become regenerate. This is the meaning of the new birth. Man must die to his lower self in order that he may find new birth in the higher. As in earthly death, he finds rebirth into the worlds of feeling and of thought. So in this withdrawal of himself from the sovereignty of form, he may be said to die. He is not laid in any grave, nor does his body disappear before the eyes of men, yet he truly dies. This is the meaning of the crucifixion, the death essential to birth. Every man must tread the road the Savior trod. There is a cyclic order in the birth and death. The crucifixion at the end of one cycle leads to the birth and the commencement of the next. In the never-ending spirals, the great drama must be repeated, man ascending ever higher as he enacts that drama. It may well be called a crucifixion, for death upon the cross of material worlds must be repeated day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, by him who would tread the path. Let no man think that he can hide behind a text, or take one step upon those spiral stairs by trusting in the sorrows of another, however great. It is this delusion which has delayed the progress of the Western world, that by the suffering of another his sins, however he indulged, may be forgotten, that by bathing in another's blood he can find the feet of God. Such teachings may bring comfort to the mass, for behind them there is truth. However, there is a truth, however much distorted, but he who would truly save the mass must leave the mass behind. Relying on the strength of his inherent divinity alone, he must find and tread the path. When the great resolve is once born within his heart, when once the first step has been taken, the help of many saviors will be his, and with him they will freely share their blood. This is the true atonement, the atonement which one day he must learn. They, the liberated men, the great ones of the earth, the perfected saints, the holy ones of God, the guides and masters of great hosts of angels, the hidden rulers of the world, the never-sleeping watchers, they whose hands are never tired, yet are ever full of labor for the world, whose eyes are filled with pity, power, and love, and infinite compassion. They stand order upon order, living in the realms beyond the land of peace and joy, resting in perfect unity with him from whom they sprang. They and their angel hosts, welcome the pilgrim. They send him strength and cheer comfort in his trials. They lend him angels to guide him on the path. They smile upon his ever fall, knowing that their own achievements grew largely from their falls. They hide his eyes from the radiance of his own success, lest pride should rob him of humility. If from their splendid heights it were possible that they could feel a touch of fear, that fear would be for him who, essaying the path, has not yet died to pride. Aided by the light from these, his great forerunners having cast off ignorance and the superstition of the mass, strong in the strength of his divinity, the pilgrim climbs the hill, learning continually to die, voluntarily crucifying himself in worlds of form, that he may be born in formless worlds. He mortifies his flesh, but not in hermit's cave nor monkish cell, not by the scourge of shirt or of hair, not by penances that destroy the fair beauty of the flesh. He mortifies himself by mind and will. His asceticism is of self-restraint in everything. His penance is a sacrifice of everything which would hinder his progress on the path, yet he knows no torture and seldom is in his early days anguish of soul. Though thus he dies continually and suffers all the pangs of death, he is not miserable. He is filled with joy, for he knows that every pang he feels, that every nail or spear that pierces him, liberates more power. As from his wounds his blood flows upon the world below, more blood flows in. Thus he learns to know the mystery of the wounded hands and feet and side. He knows that only with his hands, when his hands are pierced with the nails, can he reach out and save the world. That only when his body is bowed beneath the cross can he bear its weight and tread its road. Only when he wears a crown of thorns can he kingly power emanate from him. He knows that only when his side is pierced, only when the soldier's spear, symbolic of strife and separateness and pain, has opened his heart, can he pay toll that he may pass along the road, that having given of his life's blood, he draws ever nearer to the land of joy where strife and separateness and pain can touch him no more. And, in the very act of giving, he hears the echo of the angels' voices singing in that land. Through his darkness and his pain, there comes a gleam of light, as from a candle burning in the window of his spiritual home. So, ever as he dies, is crucified in the worlds of form, men marvel at his fortitude, that even while he suffers, he smiles, that even in the darkness of his agony, his eyes are bright. Men cannot know that he hears the music and sees the vision of the higher world, and that by this music and joy his woe is overcome. Though the path is called the path of woe, it also may be called the path of joy. This should be added, that the joy is greater than the woe, the peace greater than the strife, the growing power greater than the weariness of pain, the light greater than the darkness. The moon it is which sets, but already upon his face are the first gleams of the rising sun. Thus have I tried to tell the story of immortal man who voluntarily submitted to the imprisonment of form, the deadening weight of flesh, that he might learn to master form and flesh. Having endured imprisonment of flesh for many lives, through many centuries, he now seeks to harvest all his gains. To do this, he must disentangle his immortal part from the mortality which it wore. He must change the habit of 1,000 lives and free himself from form. The Savior named him Prodigal. So he treads the path, seeking to ever beautify, to cultivate and refine his vehicles, his instruments, that after he has died to them and died to their control and won his birth in other worlds, he may use and find in them a many-sided diamond, which he may render still more highly polished, whose many facets he may now perfect, that through its translucent beauty, the new glory which is his may shine forth for the helping of his fellow men. Such is his attitude to body and to form, ever he regards them as matter to be perfected and beautified. This is the picture of his inner and his outer growth. Within he treads the path, finds the bridge that leads him from the mind, crosses it, and is identified with that of which he is a fragment, and knows himself as an incarnated part, a separated gleam of light from worlds of light, illuminating a portion of the world below. That part has now become the whole. That beam has been withdrawn into the parent light. The outer labor of the pilgrim on the path consists of polishing the matter which he has worn since as a separated part. He came forth of imparting to it a perfect translucency. This is the meaning of spiritual death and spiritual birth. It is not a death as man would reckon death, for the form remains. Apparently it lives and breathes. Symbolically, he truly dies, for he withdraws himself from form. Between the death which men can call death, the death and the death symbolical, there is a difference. That in the death of mortal flesh, the flesh disintegrates, while in the death symbolical, it is still preserved. This death refers more to the power of the form and its control of life. To that he truly dies. In mortal death, there is a moment when men can say he lives, a moment when men say he dies, a moment when men say he is dead. But in the death of him who is reborn, death is continuous. This is a mystery which only he who treads the path can solve. If you would understand it, seek the road. The Brotherhood of Angels and of Men, Chapter 12, The Path. What reasons may be given to him who asks, "Why should I tread the path of woe?" There is but one reason, but it is all sufficient for love's sake. For it is love which brings about the first murmurings of discontent within the heart of man. The value of his pilgrimage, the estimation of its worth, these may be calculated in terms of power to love. There comes a time in the long series of his many lives when love demands an answer and assumes control. When man surrenders to the power of love, love floods his being, fills his heart, finds an entrance into every nook and cranny of his soul. In him, love's self becomes incarnate. Therefore, he can no longer deny love. Thus filled with love, he looks upon the world with its eyes, sees the whole of manifested life in no other terms. Being himself filled with love, he sees in all things an expression of love. Love is his cosmos, love is his self, thus illumined, thus suffused. He sees the sorrows and suffering of the world. He hears the cry of every soul in pain. The tears of sorrow fall upon his heart and burn like drops of liquid flame. The birds, the beasts, the fishes of the sea find entrance to his heart. He feels their anguish as they die, slaughtered, butchered by those who know not love. Seeing all this, feeling it deep within his soul, he rises up to save and finds that he is powerless, that he cannot stay the hand of cruelty, he cannot heal the gaping wound. He has neither the knowledge nor power to take away the agonies of animals and men which tear his heart. Then, conscious of his impotence, so great is the anguish of his soul, of his soul, that the resolve that he will achieve both knowledge and power is born. Thus it is he finds and sets his feet upon the path. If he ever should falter, love drives him on. If, in his weakness, he turns back, love bars the way. If he would stray down the pleasant byways of self-delusion and self-indulgence, love turns him back. If, with dead arguments and lifeless theories, philosophers bid him stay, If they would close his ears to cries of pain, love sounds her mighty trumpet, driving away harsh theories and philosophies, burns within him so fiercely that he can rest no more. If ever he walks, he deludes himself with dreams. Love awakens his soul, shatters his dreams, demands action. Should he stumble, love sustains him at every milestone. Love smiles on him, taking stronger hold upon his heart. Early upon the path, he finds that in the near approach of love are knowledge and power. He stretches forth his hand to help and sees the wound heal. Filled with a new joy, the joy of love expressed, he journeys on. Should one ask him of the reason of his pain, the reason is revealed by love. Thus knowledge grows, the knowledge of the cause of the human woe. Then it is he hears love speak. Knowledge and power must be wedded with you, ere you can heal the sorrows of the world. Thus love puts into his hands the standard he must bear, and writes the name of God upon it. Men see him as he passes on his way. They see the standard in his hand, but striving to read the name, they see only power, knowledge, love. They cannot read the name of God. They only see the armor, the sword, and the shield which God lends to his Son who journeys home. Thus armed with and equipped, he crosses the bridge, hears the angels' welcoming songs, finds the source of knowledge, power, and love, drinks his fill of these, and being filled knows himself divine. Godlike in his knowledge, power, and love, he turns to heal and save the world which he has left behind. There is no pain which does not answer to the magic of his touch, no thirst that cannot be assuaged by his power, no evil that his knowledge cannot dissipate, no form of life, however high or low, in which cannot see himself. He heals by identification. He drives away pain because he is pain's self, because pain is but the darker side of joy. Being joy, he also is pain. By leaving the world of men, he becomes their redeemer. This is his prize, this the goal. For this he stated upon the path. In the act of redeeming, he knows the greatest of all joys, the joy of love completely expressed. You who read, have you not felt within your hearts the sorrows of the world? Have its cries of woe hurt your heart, or do you still sleep? You may sleep for a while, but the time will come when love will take you by the hand and set your feet upon the path. It is because of this that I have come, speaking in the name of your angel self, seeking to show you the road, to tell you of its splendor, of the glories yet to be revealed. Your own soul will awaken you to the knowledge of your own divinity. You will arise and make your earthly self a temple which shall be a worthy dwelling place for your other self, the self which is divine. The shrine of that temple must be within your heart. Within that shrine, the Christ in you must come to dwell. For this reason, see to it that the temple of your body, the vehicle of your life, be beautiful, that through its beauty the splendor of the God within may be revealed.